Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Highline. Today we're going to be talking about the wonder drugs Ozempic and Wegovy, which are being used for weight loss. Weight loss is an interesting topic to chat about because it's kind of like a silent bomb that goes off, affecting not only the individual but everyone around them. And before we get into the episode today, I just want to talk about a personal story. There is a person that I'm very close with that has grappled with weight loss throughout most of their adult life. While they have a genuine desire to shed weight and be more active, they face multiple setbacks along this journey to lose weight. I've been a witness to the shame and disappointment that comes from this repeating spiral. It's heartbreaking to see them revert back into the old habits and dealing with the emotional stress that comes from continually failing. This is a spiral that confines people to a limited range of action that never allows them to push through the pain and grow to come out the other side. And there's a really hopeless frustration that you deal with because you want to help them change so bad, but there's really nothing that you can do. And I know I'm not alone in this predicament because countless people around the world struggle with weight loss, leaving them desperate for a solution. And that's the biggest impact for these drugs. And today we're going to be breaking down that market, which is known as the GLP-1 agonist market. This market is almost doubling year on year and is going to be the major positive story, I think, of 2023. It's a breakthrough that shines a positive light in a year that's filled with a lot of turmoil, a lot of fear, and global wars. But in today's podcast, we're going to take a look at the company that created this wonder drug called Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk has a market cap of 200 billion at the start of 2023, and that number has now risen to 400 billion. We're going to understand why obesity is a bad thing and how an obese society makes everything more expensive. We're going to have a look and understand how GLP-1s work, how they became so popular, and what the impact to the industries that are going to be affected with a society that weighs a lot less. We'll finish the podcast by looking at another well-known drug which has followed a similar story and finish off with my main idea for this market. I'm really excited about our conversation today because we're going to be taking our understanding of high growth markets to another level. A strategy that we need to start incorporating is creating a list of human behaviors that cause us to tell someone else about it. I want us to become the best at the world at understanding behaviors that have inherent word of mouth characteristics built into them. If we can create a product that is naturally aligned around some word of mouth behavior, we stand to benefit significantly because everyone is going to be sharing their experience with our product and we have the chance to experience viral growth and hopefully do that very quickly. The best place to start our conversation today is to look at the history of the company which started Ozempic, which is Novo Nordisk. In the 1920s, there were two Danish companies which emerged with a mission to treat the people of Scandinavia of type 2 diabetes. There was Nordisk and Novo, and for decades they were fierce competitors, but in the 1980s they merged to become Novo Nordisk. Now headquartered in Denmark, Novo Nordisk is the most important company to Denmark's economy. To give you some perspective, Denmark's GDP stands at 406 billion, while Novo Nordisk's current market cap is 436 billion. So there's one company that is worth more in terms of economic output than an entire nation. That's pretty crazy. One of the most interesting things about studying drug companies is often their most successful drugs come from either accidents or creating something that was intended to be used for another purpose. And this is the story that is very common in the pharmaceutical industry and one that we need to pay attention to whenever we see new drugs, because typically the way that they are released, how they perform, how their price changes over time follows patterns that have occurred with other drugs, and we can look to those examples. And the journey of Novo Nordisk is not too far apart from other drug companies. During the early 2000s, Novo Nordisk was not doing well as a company. Their market share was declining due to high amounts of competition in the pharmaceutical industry, and they were really in search of a new drug to kickstart and revive the company. Their breakthrough moment came when a researcher in Copenhagen discovered a compound that could mimic the natural hormone GLP-1. Recognizing its potential, Novo Nordisk assembled a team of 10 experts in 2004. Their focus was to study the compound and figure out how they could create a molecule that replicated the same behavior as the researcher had discovered. They ended up creating a molecule called semaglutide. How it works is just like the natural hormone GLP-1, which gets released after we eat. Ozempic helps regulate blood sugar levels. When those levels spike, Ozempic nudges the pancreas to produce more insulin, facilitating the movement of sugar from the blood to the cells. Moreover, it signals the liver to produce less sugar and slow down digestion, making you feel fuller for longer. What they discovered was the unexpected benefit of weight loss. And the patients that got prescribed GLP 1s for type 2 diabetes not only experienced significant benefit to that drug for their diabetes, but they lost a lot of weight. The word of mouth of this drug got around, and people wanted to be prescribed it for weight loss. But there was a catch that wasn't included in their FDA license. They actually could not prescribe the Ozempic drug for weight loss. Recognizing the unexpected side effect of the Ozempic drug, they went and created a new drug called Wegovy and got FDA approval from that drug in 2020, and that could be prescribed for weight loss. The results of the Wegovy drug are absolutely nuts, and it's one of the fastest growing drugs of all time. It did $200 million of sales in its first year, and we'll get into the specific sales data a little later. But what I want to highlight is just how interesting it is that the Wegovy drug was created to solve a specific problem, but the real killer benefit of it was actually something else. And it shows us the serendipity of discovery. Sometimes we create a product to solve a specific problem, but it actually is a better solution for solving another problem that we never intended it to be. So we need to be a little bit flexible when we create new products and really look to see how people use them and whether or not there is a better use case for our product than we originally intended. Let's take a look at why a weight loss drug is such a breakthrough invention. If we look at a chart of the global social burdens generated by human beings, obesity is at number 3 on the list, and it's generated to cost the world 2.8% of our total GDP. There are a couple of reasons why obesity is bad, but the first reason why is due to the personal impact of obesity on one's health. Every 5 kilograms that you are overweight, there is an 11% increase in cardiovascular disease. Furthermore, you increase your chances of specific forms of cancer, including breast, kidney, and gallbladder. You also have lower survival rates than non-obese people. And people who are obese are also more likely to have depression and anxiety. The other major reason why obesity is bad is due to the economic impact of having a society that is largely obese. There is a rise in direct healthcare costs. Obese people require more care, more surgeries, more medication, longer hospital stays, increasing the cost of Medicare for all individuals. Furthermore, obese individuals raise the cost of private healthcare because obese people require more claims, which means they have to end up paying majority of the money for that type of client, and the cost is then risen for everybody. There is also a pharmaceutical cost. They require more pharmaceutical drugs to manage obesity-related conditions. The more the population rises, the more people that require subsidies, which end up getting paid for by the taxpayer. The size of the prize of creating a drug that helps people lose weight with little effort is enormous. There's almost 1 billion people that are considered to be obese globally, and in America alone, that is 42% of their population. So it's clear that if you can create a drug like this, the results are just going to be enormous. And the performance of Wegovy is insane. The average patient loses 17.4% of their body weight in a 68-week period, which is absolutely crazy. But it's not all rosy. So when you stop taking the drug, you will put on about half the weight that you have originally lost if you have not adjusted your relationship with food and got into a regular exercise regime. However, you can literally sit on your ass and take this drug and you will lose 17.4% of your body weight. It's clear that the Danes are pretty cluey and they knew exactly how much value their product delivers, and they put a price to deliver that value. The current price of Wegovy is $1,000 per month, and it's designed to be taken indefinitely, of course, as they want to make a lot of money from you over the next 20 years. The interesting thing as well is this is not currently covered by a lot of health insurance providers or by Medicare. However, over time, the drug will get cheaper. If we look at Viagra as an example, the original Viagra, which was released in 1998, was selling for $88 per pill. Over the last 2 decades, Viagra has experienced a drastic price reduction from its peak of $88 to branded versions of Viagra, which are around $11, but you can find a generic version for about $1 to $4 per pill. So fear not, the price of these drugs will come down over time. The other fascinating thing about the pharmaceutical industry, which is worth mentioning, is the concept of the generic drug. When a company creates a new drug, they get exclusive rights, called the patent, to sell it for several years, allowing them to set high prices and recover their cost of R&D. Once the exclusive period ends, other companies can make similar, cheaper version called generics, and that allows the competition in the market to increase, and then the price eventually comes down. So expect to see Wegovy and Ozempic become a lot more affordable for more people, which is probably going to constitute to a growing number of sales. And speaking of sales, if we look at their sales in 2021 for Wegovy and Ozempic, they did 207 million. In 2022, they did 928 million. And in 2023, year to date, they've done 1.8 billion. So that is insane. From 21 to 22, they quadrupled revenue. And in 22 to 23, they nearly doubled revenue again. In order to have exponential revenue growth like the numbers we've just spoke about, a lot of people are going to have to find out about this drug. What I did is I went online and I went and did a keyword search analysis to find out how many people have been searching for Wegovy, Ozempic, and GLP-1. And what you'll find is the results are equally as exponential as the revenue. So if we see a unique product that solves hard problems, like being able to lose weight without any effort at all, we need to begin our keyword analysis search to see if there is an exponential growth. That's how we can spot things early. In the last 6 months alone, there have been 60 million searches for Wegovy and 100 million searches for Ozempic. The other thing to note about this market is I don't think people are actually primarily finding out about these drugs via search terms. I think they're finding out about these drugs from social media. Weight loss has to be up there with one of the strongest word of mouth generators. If you think about it, weight is so closely tied to how we view ourselves and our self-confidence. If we lose 10 kilos, people will notice. They will likely ask you, said, hey, you look great. Have you lost a lot of weight? What have you been doing? And you might say, well, I tried Ozempic. It really worked for me. Have you considered using it? The other thing is, even if people don't ask you, you'll probably tell them. If someone says to you, what have you been up to in the last couple of months? Well, I've been actually training really hard. I tried this new drug, Ozempic. It's allowed me to lose 5 kilos. I feel great, have a lot more energy. What I've realized from our conversations together on Highline is that the companies that are killing it in these markets have built products around human behavior that has inherent word of mouth. We need to design for dialogue, create products that speak to human needs, and they will speak for themselves. Take 8 Sleep as an example. Sleep is so critical to our overall health and well-being. If you're not sleeping, people can tell. It's a fundamental part of our health. If you have a great night's sleep, you will tell someone about it. 8 Sleep product is amazing, but it's also correlated with something that is deeply important to human behavior. If we look at weight loss products in the same lens, they are intimately connected to our self-image and health, 2 areas that are deeply significant to most people. Improvements in these areas are often immediately noticeable, as such, becoming a talking point for individuals, creating natural opportunities for word-of-mouth marketing. Our strategic advantage by studying these markets is understanding and leveraging these inherent behavioral patterns by designing products that naturally fit into existing conversations people have about their daily life, such as their health, sleep quality, self-esteem. We can create offering with inbuilt marketing potential. That is really important to understand, and it's the most crucial insight into this GLP-1 agonist market. And if you think about it, how do you think people find out about Wegovy? Imagine a girl on TikTok sees a video of someone sharing their positive experience with Wegovy. Inspired by the video, she tries it and finds it works for her. She then posts before and after photos on Instagram and TikTok, attributing her success to Wegovy. Her followers are moved by her story and see a noticeable transformation. They start their research with Wegovy and Ozempic becoming their keywords. Consequently, the search trend climbs and more people share their experiences. This is a reflexive cycle that continues, harnessed by social media, spiraling the search trends upwards. What's unique about this example is it's the first instance of social media discussions around pharmaceutical drugs that do not happen outside of illegal drugs. It's transformed people's perception of weight loss drugs, but more importantly, it's driven extreme growth. Let's just stop and have a think about where we are right now. So we know we have a breakthrough drug that allows people to lose weight without any effort at all. We know it's expensive, but the price is likely to come down over time. And we can assume that if someone takes a drug, they can lose between 15 and 17% of their body weight. It's pretty reasonable to say that this is going to have a large impact to millions and millions of people across the globe. And there are going to be a number of different industries which benefit and a number of different industries which suffer. So the question becomes, who's really going to benefit from these drugs? First industry I think stands to benefit is dating apps and dating sites. It's likely that successful weight loss drugs will increase the demand for things like Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. There's probably a lot of people with a high BMI that don't really feel good about themselves. They want to date, but they just don't think they're that attractive. And if you go out and lose, 20 kilos, you'll probably be viewed as slim, which is genuinely viewed as attractive. And it's more likely that you would experience better dating results. You'll have high self confidence. So people feeling better about the way that they look will probably lead them to be more open to dating. And the best way to meet people, as we already discussed on Highline, is online. The other area which stands to benefit significantly is clothing and apparel. If you lose 20% of your BMI, you're going to be doing a lot of shopping. Unless you want to be walking around looking like someone threw a sheet on top of you. Luxury brands probably stand to benefit the most from this trend. The reason why is luxury brands don't make plus size clothing. And you can assume that if you can't fit into a designer brand, at some point you'd probably want to. Well, GLP drugs certainly won't bring down the price. They may make it easier to fit into next season's Celine pants, which might drive a structural boost for luxury goods from those who can afford them but didn't like how they fit prior to the new regime of drugs. The main beneficiary will probably be LVMH, who owns brands like Celine, Dior, Givenchy, and they are notoriously tight-fitting. Now, a slightly unexpected and really interesting benefit is going to actually be to airlines. Airlines' expenses break down across planes, labor, and jet fuel. Airlines are looking to reduce these costs as much as possible. And one example is to reduce airline weight. If everyone dropped 10 kilos on Ozempic, United Airlines would save $80 million per year. To give you an example of how much airlines care about weight, there is a story of how United Airlines saved $290,000 by reducing the thickness of the paper that they printed the magazines out of. That allowed the plane to be lighter and they saved more fuel. When Emirates launched their Airbus A380 with showers in first class, they offset the added weight of water by reducing the amount of paper in the back of the seats in economy. This answered the myth for me that I've always wondered is why can't you buy a 1 litre bottle of water on an airplane? You're on a flight for 12 hours, you're so dehydrated, you need about a litre of water just to feel normal again, and you can't buy it. They give you these little cups and these little water bottles, and it's just so frustrating. But the reason why is because they can't afford to have the weight because it's going to cost too much to operate the plane. The next question is, who are the industries that are going to get crushed by this new trend? The first industry that is going to face an immediate reduction in sales is going to be the sale of CPAP machines. CPAP machines help prevent obstructive sleep apnea, which is a common problem among obese patients. Around 40% of obese individuals suffer sleep apnea. Most overall revenue from CPAP machines is not made up from the machine itself, but from the provisions like masks, tubes, and humidifiers, which need to be replaced regularly. If someone drops a lot of their body weight, it's likely that their sleep apnea will go too, and they won't need a CPAP machine anymore. Bariatric surgery will also face an immediate impact. If you're not sure what bariatric surgery is, it's where you do an operation to remove half of your stomach, either surgically remove it or it gets pinned on itself using a band. That allows you to stop eating so much as your stomach has pretty much halved, and it will force you to drop a lot of weight, and you'll probably keep the weight off because you just won't be able to consume as much as you could before. Other industries which will likely face an impact but are going to be harder to measure is fast food. You can assume that obese persons is likely the main consumer of fast food sales by volume. It's pretty reasonable to assume that fast food might face a slight decline. Walmart did some interesting data mining to determine the customers that were taking one of these drugs and how much they were buying, and it turned out that they were buying less food. However, the reason why these industries are going to face a kind of a slower impact is because there are some market challenges. In order to supply 1 billion people across the globe with a Wegovy drug to lose weight, you would have to supply over 15 billion pens. Currently, Novo Nordisk production is maxed out and they are facing major shortages. They're also trying to bring new factories and they're having trouble sourcing pens and other types of parts that are critical for this medicine. So these type of industries will face a slow decline, but not such an immediate decline like bariatric surgery. Moving forward, I just want to share my main idea for this market. I think the GLP-1 agonist market is a no-brainer for anyone operating in the fitness industry, and here's why. It is clear that if you take one of these drugs, you're going to put on some of the weight that you lost. unless you're able to change your relationship with food or you're able to exercise regularly. There's going to be a major demand for services that allow people to change their relationship with food, manage portion control, diet better, and exercise regularly. The beauty about this industry is because there is so much curiosity about it and people are finding out about it and they're searching for it. You could use Facebook, YouTube, and Google to really sophisticated ads for individuals on Ozempic and Wegovy drugs. And you'll likely be able to create a really strong funnel to get them into your programs. Again, this is still pretty early days in this area, and it's a really fast growing niche in the fitness industry that I have not seen people create programs or create a whole Instagram account specifically focused on really changing the psychology of our relationship with food and being able to easily get someone into a regular exercise routine that works for them, that works for the job that they have, that works for their family commitments and what they like to do. This is all the key parts to changing the behavior and really making a difference to ensure that people can still fit into the designer clothes that they spend heaps of money on. All right, guys, that is all for our episode today. I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation. If you've got any feedback for me, any ideas, I'd love to hear from you and help me make the show better. Today, we've spoken about a lot. This is a very interesting market, and I think we're going to be hearing about this a lot more from the news and just in general on social media, as it's really going to drive a lot of positive change. The key action for us in this market is to begin creating that list of human behaviors that promote word of mouth marketing. Whenever you hear your friend or someone else mention a product, go a bit deeper and ask them, why did they tell you about that? What specifically was the reason? Try and identify the emotional or the functional need and write that down and keep building on this list and keep looking for when those same patterns repeat itself. That is how we'll be able to really discover these new types of word of mouth marketing strategies that haven't been considered in the market. If we can match those with a fast growing market, the opportunities are just endless. All right, guys, that is all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.